Hey, good morning. Let me tell you a story. Dr. Emoto, I first bumped into his work about 15 years ago. And ever since, I've signed off with the phrase thank you on all my emails. And this is why. Dr. Emoto, Japanese chap who spent his life collecting water samples. He got up to the top of highest of the mountains, and all the valleys in between, and down into the lows and the swamps, and collecting just samples of water from everywhere, every possible source. And then what he would do is he would speak to the water, and he'd use swear words and he'd use nice words. He'd then play music to the water. He'd sing to the water. He'd just create lots of different vibrations to go into that water, into different samples, obviously, not the same sample. And then what he would do is freeze the water samples, and then look at them under a microscope. And what he found was that the water that had come from the purest sources or had positive vibrations put towards it, all had beautiful looking crystals, like snowflakes. If you imagine a snowflake, we can all see snowflakes, most of us. And it looks like a snowflake. It's beautiful. Whereas the actual, where it's been swear words and nasty and horrible stuff, then you end up with, it doesn't look the same at all. It's not very nice. Then you add into it the fact that we, as human beings, are made of water. Right, as a child, we're 95% water. As an older person, we're sort of 70% water. We are made of water. Therefore, the use of language, the use of sounds, impacts us. We feel it. If we're nice to, when we're being nice, I'm a Rotarian, so we have a phrase called service above self. That's about helping people, and we help people internationally and locally, and doing all sorts of different things. But when you're doing that, it's very enjoyable, and you enjoy helping others. It's far more rewarding than helping yourself. And then if people are nasty to you, it hurts. You can feel it. The water inside you can actually feel it, and it makes you squeeze up, and you want to hide, and all the rest of it. So the moral of the story, and essentially the way his work goes, is that you be nice to people, be nice to each other, be nice, And then they did an experiment just recently, some scientists who, followed his work and are also involved in just looking at water in general. I mean, I've heard they're looking at water for computer purposes. Crazy it sounds, but, it's got a very strong memory. And what they did is they put these samples of water, they had them in Germany in a lab, and they put the cameras on them, and then they got the audience who were watching to project love and gratitude at these samples. And they also had a bunch of samples who were not playing, if you like. They were not being shown on camera, but they were in the same building. And then they've done the assessment, and the results came out a week later, just last week. And what they found was that, yes, there was an impact on the water. It was a positive impact. There was a change of energy. But the biggest change of energy was in the water that wasn't actually involved in the projection. And I'm trying to think of that phrase now. It's the unconditional consequences, or words to that effect. And I started thinking of that, and I went, hang on a minute. I've spent my life as a sales guy saying to people, if asked about sales, the reality is just keep knocking on doors. Just keep saying hello to people, because the energy you put out, the actual process of knocking on the doors, saying hello, whether that be physically, on the phone, emails, through blogs, it's that proactive activity that then generates the ability for other people to knock on your door. So you'll get a call from complete strangers. So 1 in 100 might say yes to you by the process of you knocking proactively. But you probably get more from people coming towards you who you didn't know about before, but because you're putting the energy out there. And this sort of seems to join up with that in my little head. But things always do turn up bit by a little bit. So, but the bottom line is just be nice to each other. Enjoy the information below. I've put a bunch of little bits and pieces. So enjoy that. Great. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.